Well, y'all, I did it. I put some Christmas out. Now I can officially say we're starting to get the halls all decked. And I am loving it. I'm so excited. Yes, this is early, and it is the earliest I have ever put Christmas out before. But I'm enjoying it, and I feel like, you know what? It's okay, because now I get to enjoy Christmas a little longer. Hello, beautiful friends. Welcome back. It is so good to see all of you. I am really looking forward to hanging out today. We are going to have some fun. I've got some Christmas up. I'm feeling festive and really ready to get some creating done. So today we are going to create some really fun, unique Christmas bell designs. I think y'all are going to enjoy these. So let's get started. For our first project today, we are going to need some very fun and unique supplies. You're going to need some paint color of your choice, some finials. I found mine on Amazon and I will have these linked for y'all. You'll need some of these little tiny finial caps or a round bead of sorts. And then we're going to need some little just plain old round discs with a hole drilled smack in the center. I'll explain this one in a bit. You'll need a couple of screws. And then, have y'all ever broke one of these lampshades and then had some spares laying around and you're like, what to do with these? Well, this is a great project for all of your spare lampshades if you have some. If you don't, I will also have a link to the ones that I have here. And then you're going to need some greenery. I'm going to be using some fun, just simple wreaths for this. You'll need a screwdriver and, of course, a paintbrush. Okay, y'all, are you ready to get started? So the very first thing that I want to do with this project is get all of our little wood components painted. And I am just using black for this, but of course you use any color of your choice. So for the little round discs, I'm going to paint both sides, both front and back, as well as the finials and the finial caps. Okay, question for y'all. When it comes to projects like this, do y'all enjoy the painting process or do you find it to be a mundane chore more than anything else? So many of the projects that we work on, I absolutely love the painting process. But then there are pieces like this that I'm like, oh, why did I choose a piece that had to be painted? These finials just have so many little grooves in them and they can be, just fiddly. It's like, where do I hold on to it to keep my hands from getting covered in paint? It's just, one of those things. I don't know. Is it just me or do y'all find that same thing when you're painting certain projects and certain pieces? Okay, so we finally got all the pieces painted. I've let them dry thoroughly, and now I want to come in and do a little bit of wax on our finials and our finial caps just to give these a little extra sheen. I love the matte black paint, but sometimes just adding a little bit of this wax to them, it doesn't give them a shine necessarily. It kind of just gives them a little bit of extra life and a nice silky finish. So I'll go ahead and do that to both of the tall finial pieces and our little finial caps. So I brush it on pretty liberally, and then I will come in and wipe away the excess with a soft cloth. And I do recommend using a soft cloth for this step because I started out not using a very soft cloth and it wasn't buffing the wax very well. It was mostly just wiping it off. So I do recommend a soft cloth for this so that you get more of that buffed look rather than a wiped look, if that makes sense. I did have a little bit of troubles buffing that excess wax out of the grooves on this finial. So I just came in with a very dry, clean, soft, bristled brush, and I used that to wipe away all that excess wax that had settled into the grooves, and this worked beautifully. In fact, I ended up going over the whole finial with the brush because it did just give it a little extra buffing and made that finish, just gave it a little extra silky finish to the final look. Okay, so now if y'all haven't figured out yet, we are making bells with these cool lampshades. And I'm going to go ahead and attach the clapper to our bell. So to do this, I'm just using some jute, and I tied a big giant knot in the bottom of it, and then I'm just going to glue it right into the inside of this finial cap, because the finial caps have a hole in them, and it wasn't a super big hole, so it was just the perfect size for this to fit right down into. I used hot glue to do this, but you could use any glue. Any glue would work. Wood glue might work just as well. So, okay, so now to assemble our bell parts, I'm going to take our little round discs, and these discs, I did cut them 2 inches. I just used our laser cutter to cut these, and they are 2-inch discs, but I believe you can find these pre-made I've seen them at Hobby Lobby, Michael's, just about any craft store has them. And then to attach the bell clapper to this top piece, I just wrapped that top part of the string around the screw, and then I'm going to insert it right into the bottom of this, and then we will use that screw to attach the finial. And this was a little fiddly. I actually needed like 3 more hands to do this because I kind of had a hard time holding on to that and getting the finial started on the top. But once I got it started, it worked great. And then to tighten it, I did come in with a screwdriver. But be very, very careful here not to tighten too tight, or you might run the risk of shattering your lampshade, which is going to be the bell body here. So I'll just get that tightened down, and just like that, y'all, we've got a really cool bell, and it actually does ding just like a bell. I love it. I think this is so fun. Because I loved the first one so much, I'm going to go ahead and make a second one. So we will just repeat that exact same process. So if you did want to modify this just a little bit and not use the disc, you could probably glue that finial right to the top of your lampshade. However, my finials were just a smidge. They were just barely larger than the opening on the bell body. So that's why I chose to use the disc and screw it in, because I thought it would just give it a lot of extra strength and a lot of extra hold. But if you didn't want to do that step, you could modify it by just gluing your finial straight to the bell body. Okay, y'all, so now to just add a little flair to these, I am simply going to drop some of these cute little wreaths over the top of them. You could embellish these any way your heart's desired, but I just wanted to keep this simple, and I had these wreaths and thought they looked very pretty on top of the bell. And then to finish it off, I'm going to add a candle to the inside of this, and we have a really beautiful bell ensemble. This project is going to be a little bit lengthy, so I did think maybe it would be easier if I split it up into 3 little sections for us. I thought it might be easier to follow along. So the first part of this project, we are going to be embellishing these really beautiful brass bells. We're going to embellish our bells. And to do this, I'm going to be using some air dry clay, some IOD molds, clay molds, and of course, these very beautiful brass bells. I loved the shape of these bells. I just thought they felt very vintage. So to get started, I'm going to go ahead and prepare my mold by adding in a little bit of cornstarch. This step is very, very important because it's what helps give your clay the ability to release from the mold. Without it, your clay is very likely just going to stick to the mold. So you want to make sure that you are using this baking soda to do this step. And then I'll just go ahead and start smushing my clay into the mold. Smushing. There's a real technical crafty term for y'all. So we'll just go ahead, smush our clay into the mold. And once I've got that done, we'll go ahead and release it. And one of the things that I do love so much about these IOD molds is they've got little ridges along them. So it really helps get your clay uniform so that you get the same thickness all the way across the mold. I will try to link these molds for y'all. If you've ever worked with IOD products, you know that they come out with a lot of their molds seasonally. So this one may not be available for this season, but if it is, I will link it for you. And if it's not available, I will do my best to link something very similar in our supply list. Okay, so I've got the clay appropriately smushed into here, and now we can go ahead and demold this. And I do this step pretty carefully, just kind of start with one end and then just flip it, I guess. And when you have it properly prepared, the clay really does kind of just seamlessly come right out of the mold. Now, y'all, here's what we're going to do with this next step is I'm going to go ahead and glue these straight away to the bell. And the reason I am gluing these onto the bell while they are still wet is so that they'll adhere to the shape of the bell. They'll form to the shape of the bell. That's what I'm trying to say. So it is very important to use waterproof glue here. I am using my Titebond wood glue. It is waterproof, but I do believe that Mod Podge makes a waterproof adhesive as well. You just need it to be waterproof because as the clay begins to dry, it of course draws all that moisture out. And if your glue is not waterproof, it'll draw the adhesion right out of the glue as well, and then your clay will not stay adhered to the bell. I really hope that made sense to y'all. So I've gone ahead and just finished forming this particular mold around the bell, and I chose to just do the bottom of this one. Well, actually, I at one point had this clay around the top and the bottom, and I decided I absolutely did not like it around the top, so I take it off. And right now it's looking a little bit like a Santa hat, but we're just going to trust the process here because once we get these painted, it's going to look so much better. Okay, so now for our second mold, I am going to be using this deer. And this mold's got a lot of detail in it, so fingers crossed this one's going to turn out, especially up in the antlers because it's really fine. So you just want to make sure with these more detailed molds that you're using an adequate amount of clay and getting it properly smushed into the mold. This particular mold did seem to take an awful lot of clay, so there was a lot of smushing that took place with this one. But I just kept working it until I finally got the entire thing filled in. And if you get a little bit outside the lines, these IOD molds make it very easy to just clean this up and but you can use like a sharp toothpick or something to go around the edges and clean away any of the excess clay. So once I've done that and got it all cleaned up, we're going to cross our fingers that this is going to demold okay. And I did put a lot of baking soda. I keep saying baking soda. It's cornstarch. You want to use cornstarch. Baking soda, I don't think would work. Cornstarch is a nice fine powdery powder, so you want to use cornstarch in this. Anyway, back to demolding. It was a little fiddly getting this out, but I just worked it very, very carefully and did my best to take my time on it. And it did come out, y'all. It turned out pretty darn good considering a lot of the intricate parts to this mold. I am really impressed. But the real trick here is going to be picking it up and flipping it over so that we can get the glue on the back of it. So I don't know. Can I pull this off without breaking it? Yes. Woohoo, I did it. So just like with our first ribbon mold that we put on the our previous belt, and you can see where here I have it across the top, and I do decide I can't stand that, so I take it off because I just did not like it on the top. Anyway, so getting sidetracked again. Bright, shiny object, bright, shiny object. All right, let's just go ahead and get this entire deer really well glued up, and then we will carefully apply him to our bell. I do think it is really important after getting your mold placed onto the bell where you want it. It's important to come back in and just very carefully press all the parts and the components into the bell, because you want to make sure that you have good contact between the mold and the bell so that every single part will properly adhere. I do this step though very, very carefully, because if you press too hard, you run the risk of smushing some of the details away or like spreading them away. So do this part carefully, but do make sure that you get all pieces and parts pressed into the bell firmly. Okay, y'all, so I've gone ahead and created a couple more molds. I've attached them to all 4 of our bells, and now we're going to go ahead and just let these set up for about 24 hours. You want to make sure that this clay has fully hardened and fully cured before moving on to the painting process. So while those are setting up, we're going to go ahead and work on part 2 of this project, and that is creating a really pretty wreath to attach a couple of our bells to. So I have 2 wreaths here that I've attached together. I did find both of these at Hobby Lobby. One of them, I found them back like in their floral section, close to like the wedding, where the wedding stuff is at. One of them is just a simple grapevine wreath, and the other was just this really cool like twig wreath. I just really loved the look of it. I thought it was kind of cool looking for it just felt Christmassy to me. So anyway, I attached the 2 wreaths together, and now we're going to go ahead and add some greenery to this. And I'm just using a whole bunch of a variety here of greenery picks. I found these at various places. A lot of them I did get on Amazon, so I'll have them linked in the supply list for y'all. So as I'm attaching these, I'm just trying to create like a swag almost of sorts. So I'm not going to go all the way around the entire wreath. I just want to create like a swag at the top. So I just start layering everything in. I am using hot glue to do this. I'm actually using my melting pot. I'll have this linked for y'all too. I love this when working with greenery. It's a lot more precise than using the glue gun because I have a little more control over where my glue goes. So I really do love this, and I'll have that linked in the supply list for y'all as well. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and come in here and just start filling this in. I do try to be pretty symmetrical, so if I do something on one side, I try to balance it equally on the second side, and I just continue filling this all in until I feel like it's looking good and full and fluffy. To finish the wreath off, I'm just going to add some pine cones to the very center of this, and I think that's going to be good for the embellishments or the greenery on this wreath. There was a little bald spot right there, so I just added in a tiny little branch, but overall I think it looks great. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to step 3 of this project, and that is attaching some of the bells to the center of this wreath. So to do this, I am simply just tying these bells together with some jute, and then I will come up and string that jute through the back of the wreath and tie that on securely, and this project will pretty much be finished for the wreath part anyway. I was only able to fit 2 bells on the wreath. I had hoped that I would be able to fit the 3 smaller ones on here, but only 2 of them fit. I just could not squish 3 in there. So I hung 2 on the wreath and it's looking really good. So for the remaining 2, I feel like I wanted to go ahead and make these just look a little bit more rustic and antique-ish. So I did not mention this before, but after the clay on these completely set up, I did come in, obviously, and I painted them all black because my hope here was to kind of make these look a little bit like cast iron bells. So I want to give our faux cast iron bells a little bit more rustic look by just sanding away some of that black paint and exposing a little bit of the copper color underneath. And I end up loving how this looks. I think it just adds a little bit to the bell and kind of gives it just that vintage, antique, old feel. Yeah, I think I really like our faux aging to our faux cast iron bells. I think these turned out pretty cool, and these are going to be fun to style on one of my shelves, and we'll take a look at that in just a bit. But for now, let's have a look at how our wreath turned out. What do y'all think? I think this turned out so pretty. I did not age the 2 bells that I hung from the wreath because I liked that they just looked like they had that cast iron look to them. But overall, I love how the wreath turned out. I think it's super pretty. Y'all will have to let me know what you think. For our last project, we're going to give this teeny tiny bell a little makeover. I think this bell is really sweet. However, I'm not super keen on the color of the handle. Plus, the little band between the bell and the handle is silver, and I really don't like that at all. I love the copper on the bell, the brassy copper. I guess that's really more of a brassy color, but I'm not a fan of the silver. So I'm going to go ahead and paint the handle and that little silver band black. So I'm disassembling this, and when I did, the top part came off, which that top piece is also that coppery brassy color. So I'm going to keep that the same color, but the other 2 pieces I'm going to paint, and I'm just coming in with, I think I'm using my Valspar paint here in a satin finish to paint the handle and that little silver band piece that wraps around the bottom part of the handle. So after those are painted, I'm going to let them set aside, let them dry thoroughly, and then I think we'll go ahead and give our bell just a tiny little bit of embellishing. You know it's been a good painting project when you have more paint on your hands than the piece you were painting. Okay, so my paint is completely dried on all of these pieces, so I'll go ahead and reassemble the bell really quickly here, and then we'll go ahead and add some embellishments. This bell is just so sweet. I really love this little bell, and I love the sound that it makes. I want to keep the embellishments on this tiny little bell very simple because my goal here is to just give it a little extra something to just zhuzh it up a little bit, but I don't want the embellishments to overpower the bell because I want the bell in and of itself to be the statement piece. So I'm just going to come in and add some teeny tiny little branches, and I'm mostly just using the ends of some of these picks that I have, and I'm going to glue them on. I do kind of just glue these on in a little bit of a swag pattern and try to keep it pretty balanced. Again, I want this to be pretty symmetrical, so I'm going to add the same to each side, the same amount to each side to keep it well balanced. Here's where I decided to sort of ditch the swag in the front, and I started adding a little bit to the back of the bell as well, and I ended up kind of going all the way around the whole bell because as I was adding the pieces to the front, it just wasn't looking quite right to me. So I do come in and embellish pretty much all the way around the top of this just to give it a little tiny bit of something, and then to finish it off, I'm going to add one tiny little pine cone to the very center in the front. I think this turned out so sweet, y'all. I don't know what it is about this tiny little bell that I love so much, but I think it is sweet and it could be right up there in my favorites from today.
Alrighty, friends, what do we think of today's projects? I love them. I think they all turned out so good. I am pleased, and I had so much fun styling them. I had to just get them styled because I was so excited about them. I don't know if I can pick a favorite of the three. I think I love them all equally. They're just all unique and they're all different and they all have their own little character and style. So they're all just super fun. Y'all will have to let me know if you had a favorite from the three. Okay, friends, well, our crafting is done. We've styled everything. I've got some decorating up. So I thought it would be fun to just take a few minutes to do a quick little tour of how I styled everything and what I've done in our main grand living space. And I don't know, maybe this will give you a little inspiration if you're kind of stuck and you're not sure how to get started or where to go with your Christmas decorating. Maybe this will give you some inspiration and some fun ideas. So let's go take a look. Let's just walk around together and take a look at everything I've done.
Come on in, y'all, and welcome to my 2024 Christmas home. Starting in the entryway, I worked on the console table, and I think my theme this year for Christmas is going to be simplicity and elegance. So I did want to keep things pretty minimal here on the console table, the entry console table. So I just added in some of these really pretty deer, this little deer ensemble, and I did find most of those deer at Hobby Lobby. Then I added in a simple vessel with a little bit of Christmas greenery and one of our beautiful bells that we made. Moving into the sitting room, this is where I do tend to have a little bit more fun and go a little more splashy, because this is the focal point of the room. It is the center of our room. It's the focal point. It's what we all see the most. So I do go, like I said, a little more splashy here. The mantle is a place where I really tend to enjoy decorating for all the seasons, but particularly Christmas. And this year I did want to keep it very simplified on the mantle. So Michael and I just put together that backdrop with some tongue and groove boards that we glued together, painted black, and then added in some beautiful wall sconces. And my sweet little friend Rudy, this is Rudy the reindeer that I painted earlier this year, and I think he makes a great addition to the mantle. On our coffee tables, I added in just this beautiful bowl with our stone ornaments that we made a couple of weeks ago. I love these ornaments, and I thought it would be fun to pair them with some greenery as the base in the bowl, and it sort of breaks up the ornaments from the bowl. On this coffee table, I just added in a deer with a little vessel full of greenery, and of course, I always have my coasters sitting here as well. On the island, I just simply added in this beautiful vessel with some very wispy greenery and a big bowl of pine cones. I love just adding greenery, Christmas greenery. I feel like it adds so much to the space. On the dining room table, I kept things very low profile here because we sit here all the time, so I added in these beautiful candlesticks. I found these on Amazon, y'all, and I'm so impressed with how high-end and good quality they are, and they were very inexpensive. On the kitchen countertop, I kept things very minimal here. I just like to keep the countertop semi-clean and not too cluttered. So I added in some canisters with a little bit of hot cocoa ingredients. Okay, y'all, so here's a little trick. Over here where I have this tree, we have our Wi-Fi router box here and some electrical things, and I wanted to hide those. So to keep those hid, I just added in the tree to a basket and then surrounded it with some more trees. Overall, I think I've got a good start here. I mean, there's still some things I need to finish, like the Christmas tree on the left isn't decorated yet, but we will get there.
Thank you all so much for being here with me today. I really enjoyed your company, and I cannot tell y'all enough what it means to me that y'all take time out of your day to come and spend some time with me. It just means so much to me, and I do really enjoy y'all's company. So thank you again, everyone, for being here today. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Our Christmas crafty creations continue. So y'all come back, see me again next week. Until then, take care, and I will see y'all soon. Bye. Oh, okay, y'all. I need to ask y'all just one tiny little favor. This is not easy for me. I don't like to do this, but if y'all are interested in any of the craft supplies that we used today or any of the decor items that I've shown you today, I will have links in the description box for all of these, and it means so much to me. I do appreciate it if y'all could shop those links. They are affiliate links, and I do make a very small commission when you purchase through those links at no additional cost to you. However, your help just does mean so much to me, especially this time of year, because every little bit helps, and I love to be able to have that extra little something to just pour into more content for y'all. So if you could and you're interested, please take a look at the links in the description box and consider shopping those links. Thanks, y'all.